I am very passionate about how things work. I started when I was a young kid, watching at the vast blue sky, looking at these metal structures, called airplanes, flying 40,000 feet in the air, piercing through clouds. After all, we are the first species to land on the moon in 1969. That's when I said to myself, well, humans must be the best creation of God. Turns out I was wrong. How many of us have heard people say, oh, he comes from that caste, that's why he has no class. Oh, he speaks that way, that's why he has no class. They're all the same. After all, they're just people from that class. I have, and I'm sure you have too. Just like any other teenager, I go out with my friends and I make memories. One day, while doing so, me and my friends stopped at a local tea shop to have a small tea break and chat about our lives. We stopped and we ordered some tea. We received our tea. We received our tea in a glassware. We started drinking it. We were talking about our life, about our relationships, about school, and just chatting like all teenagers do. That's when I looked over to the person right next to me. It was a weightlifter from a nearby rice shop. After a long day at work, he stopped at the tea shop, just like us, to have a rest and talk with his friends. Well, he also received his tea, but instead of receiving it in a glassware, he received it in a paper cup. I did not understand anything, because receiving it in a paper cup meant that he received a much smaller quantity. But instead, he paid the same price. He paid the same 20 rupees as me, but received in a much smaller cup. He was getting scammed at this point. I did not understand anything. But then I looked over to my left. I see a group of municipality workers who work very hard to keep our city streets clean. Yet they were also met with the same treatment. They also received tea in a paper glass. I wanted to understand. I was searching for explanations everywhere. I asked my friends, but they did not know anything. So I just went on and simply asked the people, the victims. They said, it's because we belong to a lower class. It's because we are Dalits. That's why they treat us like this. It is because we are considered impure. And that's why the shopkeeper refuses to wash the cup after we use it to drink. And that's why he gives us tea in a use and throw cup. This broke my heart. Like many people in this auditorium, I thought the caste discrimination and the caste system was a thing of the past. Turns out I'm wrong. To understand this very complex situation, we must understand what the caste system is and how it works in India. The caste system originated somewhere around the 1st century before Christ. It separates Indians into 4 categories: the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. Statistically speaking, 98% of Indians associate themselves with a caste, which means that not only Hindus, but also Christians and Muslims practice the system. Coming back to this pyramid, we can see only 4 categories, but I'm hiding something from you. There's also another category, the untouchables. The untouchables, or the Dalits, are known as the lowest caste. In fact, they're not even part of the Varna system itself. It is believed that the Dalits are the ones performing the most impure jobs, like sweeping the streets, taking care of dead corpses, and manual scavenging, which is the waste management of human excrements. Dalits have historically been facing discrimination, and they have been the victims for over 100 years and much more than that. There was one man who fought for the freedom and for the rights of these people. It was Dr. Ambedkar himself, the father of the Indian Constitution. Talking about this situation, it reminded me about a quote from Dr. Ambedkar. He says that the caste system is not a barbed wire or a physical wall, but instead it is a state of mind, which means that we can erase this state of mind, which means that we can erase the system of discrimination and treat everyone equally. So how can we do this? How can we achieve this? Well, there's another quote by Dr. Ambedkar, which gives the solution, and by which I'm very inspired. The quote says, educate, agitate, and organize, which means that education, which is in fact the very first word in the quote, is the base for knowledge and thus for equality. I had a talk with an activist from an association based in Pondicherry. His name was Mr. CT. Thanks to him, who is a psychological professor, he told me that the caste system, just like Dr. Ambedkar said, is in fact a state of mind. So let's proceed with the solutions. Growing up in a small town like Pondicherry, I was exposed to a multicultural setting from a very young age. I could visit any Christian Catholic church however I want, whenever I want. I could also go to a local mosque and take blessings from them, and vice versa. People do it every day. And thanks to my education at the Lycée Français International de Pondicherry, or the French International School of Pondicherry, I was exposed and taught about the principles of laïcité and the respect d'autrui, which translates to secularism and the respect of others. Thanks to this education, I managed to learn that humans, after all our differences, are just humans. Just like everyone else, we share the same blood, we share the same flesh, and the same bones. So we are all the same. And we should thus treat everyone equally. Let's try applying that to our society. As Ambedkar said, caste system is a state of mind. And to demolish that state of mind, we must replace it with core values. And he talked about liberty, fraternity, and equality. This reminded me of something. I think it reminds you of something too. It is the French motto, liberté, égalité, fraternité. And that's why I want to thank once again my education at the LFIP for bringing me up in this very powerful environment which allows me to treat everyone equally. So what is the solution, you may ask? Well, I said, after looking at all of these incidents which treat humans very badly, I think it is about time that we start having classes, awareness classes, in our own schools to teach children about all the imperfections and all the discrimination that others face even today in this society. Well, you may say that the caste system is a thing of the past, or it happens just once, there, or every 10 years, but that's not true. Let me give you some examples. There was once, this incident happened 2 years ago in a southern village in Tamil Nadu. A boy, as young as myself, was threatened with a sickle and he was abused just because he was academically gifted and he had very perfect marks. All of that because that boy belonged to a lower class and his classmates couldn't stand that. He was attacked and he was assaulted. And another incident. A Dalit community faced many health consequences because it was found that in their water tank, human excrements, human waste was put in their water tank by dominant caste people. Can you imagine that? Let me say that again. Human waste was found in a water tank, and people use that water to drink and to take care of themselves. Does that seem just to you? It doesn't. And that is why we must abolish the system. After talking about education, I find it very important to remember its importance. And that's why I want to talk about Nelson Mandela, who said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Talking about that, we must understand the importance of education, but also of teachers. because they are the ones who are teaching us. Without these teachers, we wouldn't have the education we have now. We can't just take a book, read it, and try to gain knowledge. Maybe you can gain knowledge, but a teacher stands for lifetime. That's why I want to remind of another quote by Henry Adams, which reminds us of the importance of teacher. A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. Which means that a teacher will guide you throughout your life till your death. And that is why I think it is important that as teachers, as students, we must learn about these discriminations that are faced by our fellow classmates or even people we might even not know. But after all, they're just human like us. So instead of taking part of the system, I think we should act against it. Thank you.